Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Open Door Policy. It has been quite a minute since we last here met. Sorry about that. We've had some technical difficulties and people have lives. So my apologies only go so far. But tonight, we do have that episode that we had discussed with you. We're going to be talking tonight with a soon-to-be medical professional in regards to psychology, how it's going to be in the future, and how modern medicine may dip into the psychedelic realm. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my co-host, as always, Bren. And Bren, take it away, or if not, let's introduce our guest.
These intros are even getting better and better every time, right? We're on like what, 5 now?
I think we're on 5, yeah.
5 episodes, 5 big time episodes. And this one is just as big. It's just as exciting. First, I want to say, yes, apologize for the times that, we said that we're going to go on and then off and on and off. Does happen. But, adapt and overcome. That's what we do. Today, what we're going to be discussing is the psychology and the psychedelics and how they kind of work together. And one of the guests that we have on today is Matt Pattersons. So without further ado, what we're going to do, Matt, if you could just explain what who you are, where do you come from, and what brought you to the world of psychedelics and psychology.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Troy and I have known each other for 20 years now, almost.
Coming up on it, yeah. We were on crew. Yeah. I think we were on the same crew. You're green crew, right?
I was on brown crew. I think you're on red, but I won't hold that against you. Yeah, so I had a pretty long career in the military. 21 years, right out of high school. And then I got hurt, ironically, after Afghanistan, in Gagetown, of all places. But that was the end of my career. It was the end of firefighting, the end of I was in the infantry as well. And I went into a pretty dark hole, military mental health had me 9 different medications. Like my psychiatrist that I ended up seeing after I got out of the military said I was medicated like a schizophrenic, he's like, you're never going to heal. Like your brain's not even functioning like it should. Like you can't process anything. So he started me on a high dose CBD prescription. And then kind of most guys know, you get these scripts and nothing against the companies that get you the scripts. They're doing a good job, but there's no education provided, right? So you're just left to your own self-dosing. And then I ended up developing basically cannabis is safe. It's better than drinking. So then I ended up becoming hooked on weed. And it was great for pain until I started to be able to smoke a 1 gram joint, like a cigarette, and function through the day, nothing. You know what I mean? And then when my wife and I broke up, I thought I could just medicate the problems away. And then that put me in the hospital for 2 weeks in the psych ward because I had a full-on psychosis from it. And so luckily the psychiatrist I have, he's big and not pushing the pills. And that's when he was starting to get into the ketamine therapy. And he's like, look, there's this new treatment out. It uses ketamine. And I've never, other than weed, all I did was drink in the military, right? And my ex-wife knew a lot of people that partied, so that's all I knew ketamine from was a club drug. And then I was like, oh, seriously? And he's like, well, yeah, it's used in the emergency rooms, it's used in ORs, it's done by a doctor, it's not we're not sending you home with a big line of ketamine to do and trip out in your bedroom. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll give it a try. But that was kind of the start of my, I don't know, I guess in this podcast, I can say my journey, this new version of myself.
Right.
I couldn't do the nasal ketamine because my nose had been broken a couple times. So I went right into IV, which is a lot stronger, and the treatment process is shorter. Like the initial protocol is shorter because it's right into your bloodstream, right? So did the 6 sessions there, and then the like follow up like every 2 weeks, and then weekly, and then follow the psychiatric follow up throughout. And man, I came off, like CBD had me off of most of the medications, but then this got me off my antidepressant. Like I dropped about 100 pounds in weight, started hitting the gym again, which got my pain under control. So then I had to stop. I didn't need to get these back injections I was getting anymore for like disc problems. Then like just everything, man, like my memory got better. Like I do have to use an ADHD medication, but that's kind of from getting hit in the head with a radio. But but like that's about it. Like I'm set to graduate this year from my my psych undergrad with Acadia, and I got like a 3.9 GPA. Like wow. I like 18-year-old me would have been like, no, that's not us. Like, you know what I mean? Like you barely passed high school math. Like
not bad for an infantry guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Grunt brain. But I mean, I kind of joke about the grunt brain because I'm able to function on not a lot of sleep too, and bang out papers till like 3 a.m. and make class for 9. So
maybe the weed was helping. You never know.
Yeah, maybe. It did help me with some stuff. Like I still use CBD because I have arthritis, but I barely, like that's mean, like since doing the ketamine, and I barely use THC at all now. Like if I get a migraine, I do because it's the only thing that really treats it, because it's like a neuropathic pain, but not your typical like headaches. But other than that,
it's not that big right now, right? Like ketamine is not out there as a first option.
No.
That's
what the Bears wants guys to have tried at least 2 antidepressants first, which, well, let's be honest, most guys getting released for mental health issues already have.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And then, but the problem is like workers' comp and stuff they're thinking about it, but it's not covered yet. So it's just back and RCMP is, if I'm not mistaken, are actually thinking about treating serving members, but they have to be on that. I guess for us it'd be called that PCAT, but they're put off on their sick leave, and they can actually has to go through Ottawa for approval, but they can start getting treated with it too, hopefully.
That's in the works right now. Okay.
Yeah, but with the military,
that's one of the common problems. Sorry, go ahead.
No, with the military though, you still got to be out.
See, that's what I was going to say. That's one of the common problems I've had the discussion with multiple members, and I'm assuming you've had the same. It's why am I going to ask for help if it's going to end my career, right? Like that's what everyone always ends up hitting that wall before it's to the point where it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah,
well, that's why actually my psychiatrist that I have now, because that once the back approval kicked in, that's when he started this big CBD dose to get me off all these pills. But the original script was written by a neurologist because all the medications they were trying for headaches weren't working. So he's like, well, let's try CBD THC combo, see if it works. And then the base hospital is like, no, you can't do it, but we can write a script for oxys or Percocets or something.
Of course.
Like, and I just said no. And like the PCAT process, that was in April, and by December I was out. There wasn't even like, hey, do you want to maybe move into this? Like, we can promote you and you can go teach recruits. So it's just like, no, bye.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? You definitely, if you ask for help, you get removed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a situation for sure. And the fact that I know from my experience as well, it was the same thing. It was like here's a whole bunch of medicine, here's a whole bunch of pills. You start off with this.
And he started them all at once too. I don't know about you, but the guy engaged him. Like, here's 8 pills, start them at once. It's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And that scrambles your brain. It's scrambles your brain, gets you all confused, all your hormones and everything about your body is just all messed up. But you don't even know. You're just doing it.
My ex-wife was an LPN and had to stop working because she had to take care of me. Right? Because I could barely stay awake. Like I'd forget to pick up the kids from school, or like I'd forget. She'd come home and be like, "When was the last time you showered?" And I'm like, "I don't know." She's like, "Well, I'm pretty sure it's been like 4 or 5 days." Like,
yep.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's nothing to be ashamed. That is a common thing. So fucking common because it's the lack of purpose.
Yeah.
That's that initial kick in the balls, right? Like, what do I do now?
Well, it's the pills
Yeah.
too, right? It's the medicine that really drops your brain and your neurotransmitters. Have you done any of the education? Like, it's the education about that. Like, so can you explain your program that you're taking right now? Like,
My psych program?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Your psych program.
Yeah. So yeah, I have taken like psychopharmacology, but they don't really get into so much of the positives and the negatives. Like they just talk about like which, receptors in the brain, say like SSRIs work on, or antipsychotics work on, or the different variations of like the generations of antipsychotics and antidepressants. And we did actually, my prof was pretty cool. So it's like, I was older than her probably by about 15 years, but her husband was a cannabis botanist. So she was all about like psychedelics and stuff. But unfortunately, the way academia works, which is kind of like VAC, takes forever for things to get updated. So they were still teaching about like LSD and mushrooms and what else did we talk about? Psilocybin. Oh fuck, I forget what it's called. There's a couple other ones. Ayahuasca was on there.
Ayahuasca,
and actually she taught that the benefits that are coming out with it, but she's like, these aren't testable because it's not really part of the whole thesis, or not the thesis, like the everything for the program. But
right.
Yeah.
Do you, now that this is a whole new world for you, right? Like this is, you went from grunt to firefighter grunt to now psych, right? So like, but you're starting, this is a brand new journey for you. So what's your plan? Where are you going to go with it? Well,
I wanted to go into clinical psych, and it's not because I wanted to head this like hero complex. I wanted to save the world. It's just really what I wanted to do. But man, I'm almost 50. And it's like the clinical psych programs, at least here in the Maritimes, because I don't want to move away because my kids are still 15 and 18. They only take like 10 people. So what I'm looking at is either a master's of psychiatric research, so I can keep this going forward, or occupational therapy. And then there's a program University of Victoria runs online for psychedelic therapy for people in the mental health field, like OTs and psychologists and psychiatrists and RNs and stuff like that. So the end goal would be to do like psychedelics as an occupational therapist.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you said something there, and I want to like not correct, right? Like you said, you're 50, but like, man, no, and like you're paving the road for somebody behind you that's going to go through what you're going to have to go through right now. So good for you.
Yeah. So I graduate next spring. I'll be 48, and then the OT program takes almost 100 people. So by the time, hopefully, I can finish that. I'll turn 50 in March, and I should graduate from that in May.
How are you finding the transition from when you started in your sophomore year to how things are rapidly progressing right now with this big old spiritual awakening psychedelic movement? Because we've had discussions offline again about ketamine treatments, and that's kind of where VAC was pushing things. And it's almost like they're on that line of like allowing mushrooms. Like you see the mushroom shops getting raided constantly, and they're up the next day. It's going the way of the marijuana.
Did you see the thing in the news? Because you can't share news in Canada anymore. But the Supreme Court intervened and told Health Canada their decision to not train therapists in psychedelic medicine or with psilocybin was unjust.
Oh wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I can see if I can find the article again, but I can share like the screenshot I took of it because that's all you can share on Facebook now. But so like my first year, I actually had a prof he's really cool. He's like, you ever think about microdosing? He would tell students when they were super stressed out. And then I was like, I do it all the time. So we kind of became buddies. But so before I went back to school, because I was doing ketamine, not with I'm with New Vista and stuff now, but the company I was with was kind of, you just go in, VAC would pay them, but there wasn't the psychotherapy attached to it. So I was just kind of on my own. I was already seeing a psychologist anyway. So it just kind of, it helped, but whatever. And then, like school was about to start and I was like, I want to try some mushrooms because I never tried them before, like therapeutically, like eat a little bit at a party, but I think I had like 3 or 4 grams of Golden Teacher And I was like, holy fuck. Like I didn't like trip balls or anything, but like I sent my ex-wife this massive email, like apologizing in my part of the divorce. And, like, she thought I was suicidal. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm great. And she's like, you never apologize. And I'm like, oh fuck. Like, I don't know. I guess there's anytime, new time, like, you know what I mean? Like, no better time than now to change. And
it opens those
floodgates.
floodgates. It definitely opens those floodgates.
Yeah,
eh?
Exactly. So yeah, my first year went really good. And then the second year I was dating someone, and my ex-wife didn't like her, and the divorce kind of got a bit nasty. And then I was trying to sell my house, and it kept failing. Like, people kept backing out of the deals, and I was in a really hard class. So like, I was on the verge of like burning out. I don't know if we were talking then or not, but I might not have been telling you this stuff, but like, I was only like 180 pounds. Like, I was stressed out, man. Like, just pictures of me I've seen now are like, holy fuck. Like, I look like almost emaciated because I just would just study, stress, and eat, and forget to eat. And then
I put myself back in, because you were the power gym guy back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, after I got hurt, that was my actually, instead of going to the gym, I like would like totally back away from everything and kind of just like go hermit mode. But with school, I couldn't do that. So like, you know, even my ex was like, man, like there's nothing wrong to step back and like get yourself healthy again. And I'm like, no, like if I stop going to school, like I'm gonna crash again. Like when I left the military, like I know it. So I'm gonna push through it. And so the host sold, and then everything I put myself back into regular therapy. And so I was going to class. I'd have class until like 2 p.m, and then I'd go have a ketamine session at 3. But like I brought so then the second part of second year finished pretty well. And then going forward, like I'm in a good spot now. I'm like, I got a great partner. Regular thing, like I see a great psychologist. We just work on like mindfulness, and he's all about like breath work and psychedelics and using cannabis properly. So like, like I said, it's just a little bit of CBD and stuff. But my girlfriend now, she's also about psychedelics. So we've done some mushroom things together. And I did a big, like, I remember I messaged you at Christmas. I was like, yeah, we made this mushroom tea, and I think it was going to be strong enough. So I ate the other 3 grams. So I ended up to like 7 grams. And like I sent myself a text message, and I don't even know what time. I don't remember sending it. All it said was, Pearl Jam's great for processing. Love you, big dog.
Yeah.
But it was like, those are the
Pearl
songs.
Jam is good. I like Pearl
But those songs like that, like Pearl Jam was one of the bands I listened to as a kid. And it was like that night with that massive fucking dose of mushrooms. Yeah. It was like I found my inner child again with that music.
Yep.
And it's like I became like whole again. And like since then, everything's just gotten exponentially better. Like my grades went up. Like I said, I got a 3.9 GPA. Like I never thought that would happen.
It's a
like,
success.
Like my ex-wife and I are like really good friends. Like I get along with her new husband. Like my kids and I are like good to go again. Like fix a relationship there. Like I don't stress about shit anymore. Like, yeah, the state of the country is not the best, but like you saw my old Facebook, like how I was like, fuck this and fuck that. And I'm just indifferent now. I'm like, well, I voted. What else can I do? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
I'm not going to go storm the Capitol. Like,
no,
like I don't know. I don't like using the term normal, but I'm definitely normal. Like, I feel like it's like I found that 18-year-old version of me that left the Valley to join the military. And then I've kind of just picked up from there and then moving into a whole new life.
Do you feel like ever since these transitions have happened for you, do you feel like not so much like you said an apathy towards the world, but you had said like it's kind of like water off a duck's back, right? Like how do you find maintaining that in this world that we're in right now? Is it something that you're going to have to do a boost with these substances with, or is it going to be more well, almost like anything, right? It's like you can't take steroids without working out, right? So it'd be the same thing, right? You can't take mushrooms without doing the inner work, right? Is it kind of going that way as far as your research has been going, or
you say you kind of broke up there? Just can you say it again? The last little bit.
Just in regards to like just how the research is going with it. Like, are you finding that this is something that is has to be constantly maintained, and obviously doing the inner work is maintainable,
Okay, I
but
hear you
the
saying.
drug approach.
Yeah, exactly. So like doing like the public relations stuff is kind of what I've been doing right with the company I've been with. Like a lot of people, like guys that have never used psychedelics before, they're like, oh, it's just a magic cure. Like, you know, there's a guy I used to follow on Facebook who was like, oh, MDMA will cure your PTSD. I'm like, well, no, it won't. Like the research is like 67% remission, but that's not a cure. Like, and he's leaving out the part where you have to do therapy and you need to cut out the negative shit out of your life. Like, you know, those antidepressant behaviors. Like for me, like I have to go to the gym. I need to engage with my kids. I need to read. I've got back into playing music. Like, but if I just sat around and on my phone, like I was doing, and smoke a bunch of weed, like before I got divorced, like I would go right back into that, you know, that fucking
loop,
shitty spot I was at.
Just
keep
keeping
it's like all the work in therapy doesn't happen in the session. It happens between the sessions. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Like you can go sit with your therapist for an hour, but if you don't want to work on all the coping techniques and the breathing and the grounding skills or whatever you're being taught in between those sessions, you're just going to go in the next week and say, I had a shitty week again.
Are you
say that again? Say that again. I want to, what was that? All the work happens.
Yeah. All the work happens between the sessions.
Between the sessions.
Like and it's like, you can't just take mushrooms and be like, oh, or ketamine or whatever. And be like, yeah, okay, I'm good now, because you're not. Like the antidepressant effects are only like for ketamine right now, or I think they're like 30 days. But the way it works is that gets you able to talk about your traumas. Like I know for myself, I'd go into therapy and be like, oh, I got triggered in Costco today. Okay, well, let's talk about let's talk about the symptoms that came up while you're in Costco. Well, yeah, that's cool, but that's not the trauma. But with the psychedelics, you're able to talk about that trauma, and that's where the actual work happens. So, then you have that new knowledge from say, if I'm using ketamine as my primary example, but from the ketamine, and then ideally you should see a therapist within a couple of days, is the way the research has it. That's typically the way we try to do it. Or you write down everything that comes up in between your sessions, and then you take that to your psychologist, and then they can actually be like, okay, well, this is where we're going to work now. Like one of the biggest things for me was my perfectionism, right? Like the military had me in such a state of perfectionism that like when I was working with therapists on base before I got out, they had 12 guys all in like crisis, like PTSD and stuff, in group therapy. And we weren't allowed to talk about the actual traumas. We could just talk about what happened during the week and if we used our breathing techniques properly. And then we had to write out like the worst event we'd ever seen on a piece of paper and hand it into them. Well, my perfectionism was so strong, it overwrote my trauma to the point where I kept rewriting it until it was perfect, like an essay. And the whole point of writing the trauma is they can tell when your writing changes where the stress is.
And that can go the opposite.
I could cognitively force myself to work through it. It was almost like exposure therapy, I guess, at the same time. But like perfectionism like took over my life once I got hurt, because I felt like such a failure from leaving the military. It was just like I didn't know what to do. And if something didn't go my way, like the first time or the second time, I would just like freak out. And that's been one of the biggest things that psychedelics has shown me, to just like be present in the moment, right?
It's another common thing, Brandon. Write that down. Be present.
Yeah, another one. And then I know it's cliche. Well, it's not cliche. It's said all the time, but there's no success without failure. But when you're in trades, that's
kind of what they say with the. Sorry, that's kind of what they say with the Eastern stuff, right? That they're teaching us on the other side of it, like the shamanism that comes with it, right? That you have to do the work, but you have to. They warn you to go very slow with it as well, because when you're going deep within, you might not come back from it, depending on what your traumas are.
Yeah, like I had a prof, and she got excommunicated from the Lutheran Church, so she's very not religious, but she's really smart in that context. But she let me write a paper on ayahuasca, because there's a church. I don't know, but a lot of people don't know this, but there's a church in Montreal that has Health Canada approval to use ayahuasca as a sacrament. So it's called Sao de CEO. I can never say it right in Spanish, but de Montreal, and it's run by a transpersonal psychologist, Dr. Rod. I don't want to say her last name. I'll send it to you when I can't remember what her last name was.
Please.
I don't want to get the wrong last name online, but I actually talked to her, and like this, like it's really, they did have like health analysis. There's churches in the States that use it too, and like these people are just overall better citizens in the population. Like they're calmer, like they've given up most of their vices, like they give to like charity, like they're just good people. And it's like that she uses the term plastic shamans, who were like, I'll heal all your, your anxieties and your depressions and everything else. You just need to come do some ayahuasca and you'll be good. But they're not actually doing any type of ceremony with it or any of the proper integration work or no real setting. And, I think one person died because they didn't screen them for medications. It's MAOs, like the old school antidepressants, right? They interact with the DMT. I think it's the DMT, and they ended up having like a heart attack or something like that. So
you can go into serotonin syndrome with if you're on SSRIs.
That's what it was. Serotonin syndrome. Yeah.
That should be a big warning. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big
a lot of guys don't know that, right? So
how do you find you require the shaman or the treatment doctor when you're doing this, or because you've said you've done it in a professional setting and in a private setting, as I have also done. Do you feel like the guide work with the shaman while you're doing it, or the treatment professional works, or do you feel like you can navigate it on your own now?
Well, ketamine is not really guided. So they have playlists that you can use there. They're all MAPS playlists. So multidisciplinary association of psychedelic sciences, for those who don't know, but like, Paul Stamets and those guys, right? So it's all music that brings out different emotions like grief or joy or gratefulness and stuff like that. So I have one of those. I just use I have one I use for myself that works really well. And I actually had a session today at like lunchtime, but with ketamine, it's not guided because you dissociate. Like today I use IV, and it's 80 milligrams, which you wouldn't think is a lot, but it's like that for that hour, it's like you're outside your body. And today was like the first time I went to 80, and this was a playlist I used that had like sound bowls and stuff in it as well. So I would put more Eastern stuff in it, like some like Hindu stuff and like Sanskrit type like chants and music, and like, oh man, like this one was intense. Like that picture of that Mandela behind you, there was stuff like that floating around, and like it was like I felt like I was moving. Like this was a good one. But
you remember
so then I see my psychologist. What's that?
Oh, I was just saying, remember when I was telling you when I did very much the same thing up at the Dimensions retreat, and I told you like I didn't want to tell you where I went until you had got there. Yeah. Because I don't want to lead you and make you see something that maybe you aren't, you know what I mean? Because that's the research I'm doing. I'm doing the mapping version, which is something my doctors have told me to do when I go in. But now I'm able to guide people through their trips to a point. Right. And where you said 80 doesn't sound like a lot. Well, 50 milligrams is what sends you into a breakthrough with DMT. Like that's
okay. Yeah, well, I've heard like DMT is super strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is one I still want to like I think I told you that there's a woman here in Windsor that does 5 MEO sessions.
Oh, wow. And so you got the 5 MEO, not the N, and
she does both, but she was, the movie Dose that just came out.
Yeah.
Dose. Yeah. So the guy that was like leading the people through the sessions there, he's the one that trained her.
No shit.
So I have to get in touch with her because like Windsor's like a 20-minute drive from me, and she's also a veteran.
So do you think it's going to be the veteran community that kind of pushes for this to get the win for it, to get into medical science around? Because that's kind of where I'm hearing it. I never heard about any type of psychedelic therapy. It almost seems like we're the guinea pigs again, right? But it's the veteran community it's coming from. So where needs to keep going? I
think, the veteran community, but we also had the weed before, and I think that might have kind of painted us with a different brush. But now that the RCMP is involved in it, I think that's where the people are going to be like, oh, well, if cops are doing this, You know, like there was an interview with an RCMP officer said if I had done the ketamine therapy while I was still serving, I probably had another 10 years left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The science is just not, well, I mean, the science is there. It's just society hasn't really, or the laws haven't really caught up to your nervous system. It's your nervous system, right? If you're taking constant blows in your nervous system, you're gonna. So if you could like technically work and just do a little bit of ketamine once in a while, or just kind of like release all that.
Like the irony is, I don't know how many surgeries I had when I was in Battalion 2 RCR. Like I had at least 3 or 4. And ketamine's part of the ER process or the surgery process. Right. Like it's kind of mind blowing that they'll give guys all these pills and be like, "You're good to go to the range," but you can't go in for a 45-minute IV infusion down in Lincoln by the airport
and be good to go.
You know what I mean? Like retention wouldn't be dropping, that's for sure.
No, like it would be good to go. You wouldn't have to be on the sideline.
Exactly.
Self-medicating on alcohol or anything else.
I think the catalyst they get away with every time with the CF to assure your release is if they give you weapons restrictions. I think that's the catch-all one is the weapon restriction.
I had no military environment.
Ooh, yeah, that's the guaranteed out the door.
Like I didn't even have to go to JPSU. I just sat at home, which if you think about it is the complete opposite of what you want someone doing with suicidal ideation, right? Like
do we want to touch that subject? Do we want to touch that subject?
Well, look at the states. Like Texas just approved this, got the $50 million research thing for Ibogaine going. Because look at the soft operators like Marcus Luttrell, Rob O'Neill, like the big names. There's a couple other guys too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like I think Marcus Luttrell said he goes, I did my Ibogaine ceremony. He goes, I woke up in the morning and put a dip in and spit it out like, what the hell is this shit? Like he goes, I went back to church. He goes, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't chew, I don't gamble.
Oh shit!
Like, like I've never done Ibogaine, but Jesus, I'd like to go try it just from the sounds of it.
Has your life changed at all theologically since you've done these treatments at all?
Yeah, I find I'm more like a Buddhist leaning. Like I'm very much like no attachments. Kind of what happens. Like just living in the moment. Like I just feel really I just want to be in nature all the time. Like I started hiking and camping again. Like I just love being around animals out in the woods, you know. But in the same sense, I went to a Pearl Jam concert with 17,000 people and didn't care who was around me. Like that wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago.
Oh, but the crowds? No,
the crowds don't bother me anymore. Like it's funny because I've stopped smoking. Like I said, I barely use any weed. And a friend of ours that we were at the concert with gave me this joint because it's legal in Tennessee and whatever. I pounded it back like I used to. And I was like, oh, probably shouldn't have done that. And we went downtown and my girlfriend's like, are the crowd's too much? Are you triggered? I'm like, no, I'm fucking high. I forget how to talk. Like, like it was that California weed, right? I was like, oh, Jesus.
Do you remember how much weed you were getting? Are you still getting weed from the VA?
Yeah, I do, but I'm not like I'm at like 3 grams now at the normal without exceptional circumstances. Like that's daily. Fuck, I don't know. One shit
it's like 3 grams a day or something. Yeah, that's
just
where
like
I'm
3
at.
grams a day. Yeah.
We had a couple conversations with Gern. He's a veteran as well, and you know I was getting 180 grams a month. I think you were somewhere in the 200s, and I think he says he was close to that too.
Like 8 grams a day. That's what 8 grams a day, 240 grams a month. Yeah, that's what I had.
You couldn't.
People don't realize they're like, holy shit, that's a lot of weed. But it's because the companies charge you like 10 grams for 1 bottle of oil.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I was using like 300 milligrams of THC to try and sleep, and it just downregulated my system so bad that eventually nothing was working for me.
Yeah,
just kind of kept you numb, and that was about your plateau.
Yeah, like I didn't dream at all, and maybe I was, but I don't know. But like I'd go to sleep, and then I'd wake up in the morning, and like every morning at like 7 o'clock, I'd throw up. And I was like, oh, geez, maybe I got some stomach issues. So they put me on like rabiprazole or something for IBS or GERD or something like that. And then once I got into the ketamine and I stopped really using any THC, I stopped throwing up. So I told my psychiatrist, and he's like, that was probably how you were processing your dreams. Like you didn't, because of all the weed, the THC, you weren't remembering them, but they're still there. And he goes, you were just basically throwing up from the stress when you woke up.
No shit. So you're probably avoiding the theta state completely and going straight into
right
subconscious or not.
Yeah, there's no REM at all. Like,
yeah, there's no REM
Holy
sleep
shit.
on that. So the how long you been on like the treatment for ketamine?
3 years.
3 years now.
But with the company, but doing it the way I am now with the psychotherapy combined, it's only been a year, and I've made probably more process in this year than I had the last 2 before without the therapy included.
The combination part. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And and do you take like for sleep? You don't take anything for sleep?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually starting a CBT for insomnia program because I do use a sleep medication, but I don't know if because now it's like, it's a new one. It's not like the old ones, the base we put is on, which just relaxed you. This one actually shuts off the wake cycle in your brain.
Okay.
And it started working within like a day. And like, I'm like, it'd be cool if I could do it without it, but it also stopped my restless legs.
That's incredible.
So I'm kind of interested to see if maybe they were all related to too much THC.
And that's the question.
Everything you're saying has been common in all of the conversations I've been having as well, even with my therapies too, right? Like they always ask the question, restless leg syndrome. They ask the question if you're going in full theta state or REM, like, because I've done like everything. I've done the egg too, right?
Yeah.
And these are all things that seemed attached to it, up to and including lower back pain of all things, right? And that's where they tie that in with the Kundalini. And it sounds woo-woo-y, but it sounds like psychology, the textbooks are at least starting to adapt finally.
Yeah. No, actually, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, my lower back pain has gotten better since my sleep's gotten better. I just thought maybe because I wasn't tossing and turning, but yeah,
well, that's the New Age practice shows it right through the chakra system. Like there's always a snake coil down at the base of the spine that goes up that chakra system, which essentially is what we're playing with when we're opening up the breathing exercises with the parasympathetic nerve. And with all the music going into the alpha to a theta state, while you're doing all of these things in between, causing that altered state of consciousness. Like people don't realize you don't need DMT to get to the place with checkerboard floors.
No.
Right. but there's definitely something more spiritual to it as well, because like people, I'm not saying it's a cure, but it seems like people are, like you said, leaving it at an 85% maintainable rate. And that's good.
Yeah. For ketamine. Is that what we're saying? Sorry.
Anything across the board.
Anything across the board.
Well, yeah, the ketamine rates for like depression and stuff are like 80%, something like that. PTSD is like 75 or 80. Like it's their.
But then you combine that
with like 30.
You combine that with the psycho, with the psychotherapy. You're probably up to close to 100, close to
exactly. And then and then you get guys back. This is why I picked occupational therapy, because then you start getting guys and developing their routine again. Where like a lot of guys get out of the military, and I didn't do it on purpose, just because I was hurt, but it kind of altered the mental health. No exercising. I ran every morning. And 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to run anymore.
That's what we do, man. We love that shit.
We smoke my meat and drink some beer, but then, a year later, they're like 50 pounds overweight and the depression's kicking in. And so they go get a cannabis script and then don't realize that high THC makes depression worse. And they're, like, it's just, there's science, but there's a lack of actual understanding at a common level of the science.
It seems very fragmented. A lot of fragmentation going on, right? There's different styles. There's the holistic, the psychiatry, the psychotherapy. Like everything is just so fragmented. Like it's what? Like Troy did something like a couple. He did like a 10-day go live in a hut treatment. Like how amazing is that? Like I never experienced anything like that, and that's a different kind of. I did.
Yeah, dementia's the one thing I haven't done yet. So. I was supposed to, and when they first opened up, and then VAC came back and said, "Oh, you guys all need case managers." Well, we don't have case managers because we were deemed DEC, so the case managers moved on.
You have to reactivate your case manager when you're on after 2 years. I've had to do that constantly. I just grab my old case manager back every time something comes up. But yeah, I will say I was upset with Dimensions the first time I went. I was very vocally upset about it. Only because when I went, yeah, I know. But it was only because I didn't know what to expect. And as I've been reading, like I'm reading this book right now. I don't know if you've had integration, psychedelic integration, but there's a section in here that talks about going into ceremony without being prepared for what you're going into for. Like there's a full huge section in case studies based on that. Going in there,
I've been doing that with my ketamine, I think, as well. Yeah.
Well, and that's I didn't used to. If you get some staunch Christian going in there, right, coming out of this shit, they're gonna go, "What did you just do to me?" Like I saw God, because everyone I've talked to has seen or felt the presence of a astral being when they've broken through. And then what does that do for
guys that passed away? You know what I mean? Like that freaked me the fuck out because no one told me that could happen.
Yep.
Say that again. Say that again, there, Matt.
Well, I saw like 3 of my best friends, 2 killed themselves and 1 died in Afghanistan on my first ketamine session. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Wow.
Because they're like, hey, this will make your depression better. Okay, cool. And next thing I know, I'm like sitting on a couch talking with my friends, like, the fuck is this? Like,
wow.
You know what I mean? So,
and that's where it gets dangerous. Like, and that's where I got upset because they can't use the words that you need to describe this right now. Because right now it seems like they're all fighting for funding, so they can't just use words like occult or ceremony or metaphysics or spirits, or like they just can't use the nomenclature that's required unless they have something to back it with. And I think that's why you were sending me the thing. I think universities are offering a shaman university program now.
Well, yeah. So University of Alberta has a transpersonal psychology, but they work like Stanislav Grof, who came up with the idea, he's wanted to develop holotropic breathing, so that what you use in Dimensions. And then I think University of Ottawa actually has I can't remember what they call it, but it's actually a psychedelic program as well. And then, the University of Victoria one that I'm looking into, it's just a year-long program, but it has a practicum attached to it. So I could say go to New Vista or one of the clinics down here that does it and kind of work with them. But they do a full, like, right from the indigenous background of psychedelics. So like, DMT, ayahuasca, like snuff, like all that stuff, right up to like psilocybin, ketamine, LSD. Like it's all part of this big program. And it's like basically you become like not so much a therapist as well. Yeah, you would be a therapist, but more of an integration specialist.
Right. Yeah. Kind of a guide within a guide. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that extremely interesting because like there's no denying that whatever is happening is happening. Like you and I have had discussions in the past, and like what do you make? Like we'll go into your dissertation after, but like what are you making of the archetypes that you're experiencing in your own personal thing, and what other archetypes are you hearing of, and what is the causation of them when people are in there? Like some people see, court jesters and geometric patterns, jellyfish people, like, but they're common. It's not just like it's a one-off.
I don't know.
They're very common.
I honestly don't. I haven't really looked into it that much, but like seems like the common one that I've talked to, at least with Afghan vets, is all seeing someone that's died.
So you're getting the past friends and ancestors manifestation.
Yeah, because that's why I left the fire trade. Everyone called me crazy. Like, I think there's 2 of us, me and another guy that went from being a firefighter back to, he went 3 RCR and I went back to 2 RCR. But when 22 Bravo got hit in 2007, those 6 guys were all friends of mine. Like, and I was supposed to be in hotel company. So like I was sitting there eating Easter supper with my parents, and it's like this, I've never like experienced like up to that point, like being hit with this wall of like survivor's guilt, like instantly. Cause my grandmother always had the news on in the background. Right. And it's just like, holy fuck. Like I had to leave. Like, I'm sorry. Like I can't stay here. Like I had to go home. And it was just, and then other friends started dying. And it's like, fuck, I can't stay in the Air Force anymore, man. Like the survivor guilt for me was so bad that I would rather go back and go to war and possibly die than stay as a firefighter.
Yeah.
And I know like how that might sound to some people. And like, believe me, this has been a big thing I've worked on in therapy, but like in my mind, like my dad tried to talk me out of it, but he kind of used the wrong terminology for me because I'm pretty pigheaded. And he's like, you're just going to go die in the desert. And then that like kind of solidified that I was actually going to do it. And, but I think if he had actually approached me more as in like, hey, can we talk? And then actually like had some fatherly advice, I might have probably listened a bit better. But at that point in my life, I'd already had a couple tours like Bosnia and Haiti and been a volunteer firefighter, like probably should have been already seeing a therapist, but in 2006, 2007, like that would have been the end of my career. And then fuck, I was like, I wanted my 20 years, so I'm just going to tough it out. So, you know, I went back to doing the infantry thing and volunteering, like, you know, I just constant shitty, worse than everybody else's life. And I'm like dealing with it and then going home and trying to be a parent, a husband, and eventually it just caught up to me. But
when your life's
and that's what I feel like. What's that?
I was just saying, like, that's what we always used to make fun of, like the old sergeant majors and shit, right? You know, you're go for 20, 30 years. You hit that wall when you get it, and they're dead within 2 years because you have like, such a high operational tempo to when you're out, you're lost.
Yeah. Like I can now, but I couldn't to be like, even to go to the gym without headphones and just be left with my thoughts. I couldn't do it. You know, like, when I got back from Afghanistan, instead of going on a nice vacation with my wife and kids, I went back to the volunteer hall and unpacked my gear and started responding to calls again. Like just chasing the adrenaline, because to me that felt like calm. And that's what I've noticed talking to a lot of guys that have gone through like the ketamine programs is like, they couldn't do it. They like guys that were snipers, guys that were soft, like I could not be calm. Like calm was dangerous because, you know, I'm not just to let go and be present in the moment and not have any attachments. You're like, in your tactical sense, that's when danger strikes.
Shit's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Holy fuck, Matt. That was a lot. Man, holy man. But the one thing I'm really happy about though, my man, is that you found something that's working.
Yeah, well, it's not just me. Like, I'm not trying to sound like a sales pitch, but like the company I've been working with, we've had 2,000 clients, and 90% of them are having like significant symptom reductions, or they're gone into remission.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it myself. And
like I sit at the front of the class, and it's not because I'm a nerd. I mean, a bit of it's because I have tinnitus, but like I just do it now because I don't know. I just want to. I don't care that there's 200 people behind me. You know.
What is your advice right now for all veterans who may see this, like as they're getting out? What would your recommendation be for all of them?
Just be open with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if it's not. Like, I don't know how to word this. You know, if it's something you want to try, like just go talk to, I find family doctors, from what I've heard, aren't really supportive of it. It's because they don't have a lot of doctors, they stop doing a lot of research once they get their practice. But like a lot of these companies, you can just go on their website, like New Vista and a Field Trip are all self-refer, and they have their own psychiatrists, their own nurse practitioners, like anesthesiologists, like there's people you can talk to and just answer questions. Come talk to guys like us, like you and me, like just talk to the guys that have gone through it, the lived experience, right? Like I know a big thing with vets is we don't trust psychiatrists, especially the guys that have, you know, dealt with some of the ones like I have, that here's your 9 pills. Okay, go be normal. You know, like, and that's one of the reasons I started working with the company I'm with, is because guys would talk to me because I'm not trying to sell them a product.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not just a guy that studied all this stuff in school and then here's my prescription pad. I'm going to write you a ketamine prescription. Like, you know, this got me from being 2 weeks in the psych ward because I wanted to kill myself to getting ready to graduate university and having my kids back in my life.
You got to have an advocate. You got to have a team behind you. And
exactly.
I know for myself, you know, like that whole journey there, it's very true. It's like psychiatry, right? There's a distrust there, and then you got the psychology, there's distrust, but you got to be open. You got to be open. You got to get through. You got to get through it because it's not worth just sitting and being in that fucking spot. Yeah. Okay. There is better ways. There is better ways. And you know, good sir here, man. Like, look at you, man. Like, you're just finishing up your schooling, and like you said, like, wow, I'm remembering things. I'm actually. Like,
and I find like that's one of the things I noticed when I started with private care versus like OSI clinics or base mental health was, and nothing against the practitioners. I'm not trying to slam anybody, but the psychologist I had was like, okay, well, where do you want to work on? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to hear? She's like, what's bothering you? And I'm like, well, she's like, well, let's just start at your childhood. I was like, oh no, let's not do that. And she's like, well, that's definitely where we're going to start. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, what about Veterans Affairs? And she's like, they know what I tell them. That's it. She's like, if you don't treat all your traumas, you can't just treat one and hope you're going to get better.
That's right. Yeah. She's absolutely correct.
And that's when like my healing started. But then the kind of coping with stuff with too much THC got in the way. And then once that was gone, then the real healing started.
What roadblocks are you finding with Veterans Affairs? Like, do you still foresee them being what they were? Because, like, full disclosure, like, they've been bad, but I haven't dealt with like the nightmare scenarios you see on CBC by any means. But like, they're still a pretty good luck to deal with.
Yeah, like I've had pretty good luck with them too. But because I've been working with Project Enlist, the other one I kind of been involved with the brain health program. But we're part of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. So that started in Boston. The Boston University is like the head research center for CTE on that. And now they originally started, football and worked into like contact sports. And now they're looking at things like operator syndrome and like constant like subconcussive impacts and mortars and all the work with veterans and stuff. And so what I've heard from, some pretty reliable sources there is Veterans Affairs still kind of looks at brain injuries like they treated PTSD in the Bosnia vets. Okay. You know what I mean? Back in the 90s. And it's like, it's kind of like, you can't see it. Is it really there? And I'm diagnosed with a brain injury from a neurologist and a neuropsychologist and pensioned as post-concussion syndrome with Veterans Affairs with a high PTSD rating. And I've talked to a bunch of guys that have the same thing. So, I mean, that's the only thing is coming on board with like all the new research.
Yeah. And
it's not a visual injury. Oh, sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just going to add on to the nightmare effect there. I've had some pretty good luck with Veterans Affairs as well. And the one thing about having the right case manager, though, the case manager that I have, like he has been wanting myself to do this ketamine, to do that step. And so having somebody that's actually, promoting new age treatments instead of just kind of doing that paperwork, right? Like, and I think these people are coming there, right? Like, that's what I'm starting to do. Like, when you start seeing that people actually care, that's different. That's a different kind of aspect. And it's really hard to see that these days.
My back case manager was a retired nurse, so she was on the ball too, right? But you don't always get that.
You don't always get that. Like mine is a CO. He was a correction officer that went into VAC, and now he's working in VAC, and he is fantastic. Like right out first, he phoned me and he introduced himself right off the bat, and I hung up the phone right away. And I said, "You don't call me, you email me first." like right off the bat, you don't phone me, you email me first. Like I ain't taking nothing. Right. But I super reactive, irritable, depression. I don't like my phone being rung. Like all the shit. And so it's nice to see that, and he emailed, he didn't take any offense of it. And then Now it's building that relationship. So like any veterans out there that are like, skeptical and all that stuff, it's all about just keep on going. Just keep going and finding that there is light. There's a lot of light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah.
So Matt, what's your dissertation on? Like as you're kind of getting out the door and going into the workforce, what is your big? I think we were talking that it was on psychedelics, but what specifically? I guess were you tracking?
Because I'm not going the honors route. I'm in the applied psych, so I'm not really doing a thesis project for my undergrad. But the research project, so the OT program has an applied research project, and one of the kind of things a couple things. So create a lot of research in creatine coming out now for like brain health, especially they've looked at it with Alzheimer's and ADHD is one there's researching. Depression's a big one. They've already done research with like depression, like SSRIs and creatine increase the effects of the SSRIs. They've done it with CBT and creatine, and people had greater symptom reduction with that. So one of my projects I'm looking at would be like, because it's super simple. It's super ethical. Like you can buy creatine at Superstore. So guys would like pre-dose, like the maintenance dosing for creatine's like 20 grams a day for 5 to 7 days. And then you drop down to your maintenance dose of 5 grams, and you can just continue. All research is long-term. There's no kidney damage risk. That's all like myths and scientifically debunked. And so pairing that with ketamine is the only legal one right now, but like ketamine or like if psilocybin ever got legalized, or just looking at if it would even increase the effectiveness and shorter treatment protocol. And just, I know I'm still working on it. I'm kind of spitballing things right now. And the other one I was looking at was kind of maybe combining the somatic effects of equine therapy with the neuroplastic effects of the ketamine.
Wow.
Because there's a couple of clinics, there's a couple, like there's lots of the ketamine clinics, but there's only, there's not a lot of VAC approved somatic or equine therapists. And like there's 1 or 2 in Nova Scotia. So that'd be something like if I, got into the program and I could.
What's somatic? Can we explain somatic?
Like somatic stuff is all like your, not so much the mental, it's like how you feel it in your body, like your vagus nerve and like all like the polyvagal stuff, right? Like, and through your fight or flight, like calming because to be around horses, you have to be calm. So in theory, with the neuroplasticity of the ketamine, it should help promote extra calming, which would in turn get you closer to the horse, which would be able to get better grounding. And it would just, the two together would be like an even greater impact. So you'd have a reduction in depression, but then also like an increase in like self-awareness and coping mechanisms and like just everything.
That makes a lot of sense, because one of the veterans I did the Dimensions retreat with, actually, they do horse therapy like as their gig, right after the experience, and that makes so much sense because you do have to be very calm around horses. They can pick up on everything, right? So it brings you to that level, right? And the somatic therapy, like that's one of the ones that works for me the best. Is they put you in like a vibrating chair, flash some funky lights, and you listen to like white noise.
Yeah.
With the assistance of a substance, because I'm a degenerate. I do find that does actually make the experience, whatever you're going to get. You're either going to get a shit trip or you're going to get something insightful, right? So again, there's that ceremonial aspect where you have to have the intention, but also the music you're listening to is part of that intention, right? If you're going to listen to like Slayer for 8 hours on psilocybin, ain't gonna be a good time.
No. Or if you have a pile of laundry that could become a dragon, it's not gonna be a good time either. So
yeah.
What's the worst thing that you've come across? That was a trial and error night. That one was.
What's the worst thing you've come across? Because I remember when I started playing with AI, you commented on some of my photos going, how do you get those so close? And that's when I said to you, I'm like, oh, you've been here. Like I think that's what started our conversation.
Yeah, like man, like I don't know how to like describe this stuff. Like I use ChatGPT for things. I don't know how to describe it good enough to get like an image like that. Like today's with that little bump up in my dose, and it was like,
put it off there, Troy.
It was like
I'm bringing it up.
There was like spirals and like at one point I think pretty sure I was in space. I think I told you the last session time we talked, I was actually seeing my neurons firing. Like,
Oh no, I don't have it.
Yeah,
but
so
it's
you were seeing. Sorry, I missed the last bit of what you said. You cut out.
oh yeah, no, it's like I think one of my last sessions, I was like actually like it's like I was watching my neurons firing.
Wow.
It was crazy. Like you see those videos like the neurogenesis of the neurons reaching out to each other, and it's like that's what it looked like. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is crazy.
It's funny to say that because everything seems to be very everyone's on the same page, and that's with people who haven't done these experiences before or even done like they're even in Carl Jung's work. I look back at an almost 200-year-old book.
Yeah.
And the images are the exact same to what I've seen. And I've
he
never
was
looked
definitely
at
on
the
mushrooms.
Oh, I can tell you who was on mushrooms, man. Like
yeah.
Van Gogh, Dolly, all the greats were. I firmly believe. I think drugs are based on religion. Religion's based on drugs.
We know what Albert Hoffman was on.
What was he on?
Well, he's the one who made acid.
Oh, did he?
Oh, you never heard this?
That.
That's where the tricycle day comes from, or bicycle day.
Please talk about it. About it. So
when Albert Hoffman discovered LSD, he dosed himself with 25 milligrams, not micrograms. So kind of like a shortened version of the long. He tried to get home before he kicked in, riding his bike, and it's like everything started like melting around him.
Oh no!
Yeah, I've seen that melt. I've seen that melt. Yeah,
that's kind of like I've seen like stuff like that too. It's
wow.
But I don't know how to. I'm not artistic. Like I play guitar, so I guess I kind of am. But musically, but art, like drawing.
Yeah, you could write music. I've heard like even like look at Jimi Hendrix. Right? Like guy was on acid all the time. You can't tell me that he wasn't getting talked to by the muse on the other side. Like I'm sure you can hear. Like even when I've been on the other side, the best way I could describe it is like I can hear color. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Does that make
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. You got visuals on.
I wish I couldn't think of his name. Doc Holliday? No, that was Young Guns. But there was a pitcher in the 70s. He played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He played a whole game on acid.
Oh my gosh, that's me. I'm gonna look him up. I'm gonna look him up.
So I guess like how far through the smorgasbord of substances have you gone through? Like, is it just the ketamine and a little bit of microdosing, or kind of?
Oh no, I've done the macrodosing with mushrooms. I don't know. I keep wanting to order like the DMT vapes like you get. Yeah. I just always keep forgetting to do it.
Well, you know what? The thing I say about the DMT
part of it might be is like I don't want to do it by myself, but I kind of maybe I'm kind of like hesitant, kind of scared too. Like it is like
everybody out there that we're not recommending you do it, but no, like if I were to give you an example, I would prefer the DMT over a macro dose of mushrooms, because you need a macro dose of mushrooms to get, because you're gonna get a macro dose of mushrooms on DMT. It's just you're not stuck there for 6 hours. You got
like what, 40 minutes, 20 minutes
at the most, 40 minutes at the most, and good luck getting to your 10th dose. They tell you got to hit 10 times to have a breakthrough. You're like this at 6. So like, good luck bringing that up 4 more times, right? Like it's extremely strong.
Oh, like in a session, you mean?
Oh yeah. Like, and it's 40 minutes long. Like it's not 8 hours of terror. Like if you're there, you're in and out, but you feel like you've been in there forever. Like, and here's the problem with the integration thing that people aren't real. If they don't know what to expect, because once something changes when you have a breakthrough, you constantly receive downloads. I call them downloads. Other people call them intuitions. Some people call it just logic, right? Like thinking 5 steps ahead. Yeah. But regardless of what you call it, a lot of people aren't prepared for that. And that's where you can get yourself into a psychosis, right? Because you're like, suddenly I know the secrets of the universe. I'm finding it in the book, and trying not to get involved with ego and inflation is dangerous. And then you go through spiritual bypass. So if I were to, not that I recommend drugs to anybody, but like out of all of them, like DMT is probably, for safety measures, probably the only one you could do by yourself. Right? Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend going downtown and hitting the fucking vape pen and just rolling the dice. Like setting is important.
I know, it's like, you see people, they'll take mushrooms, go to the bar, and like, oh, they're not that big of a deal. I'm like, well, you were drinking with it. Like, you had a depressant in your system. Like, no, go home and take like 5 grams in your room in the dark with like some Pink Floyd on to see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like all of these, even my medical professional, like, tells me the same thing. Like, she actually brought me up in one of her other sessions that she had with one of her professionals talking about shit. I'm like, oh, so I must be onto something and I'm not crazy. And she's like, no, you're actually not. Like, because we've determined, she's like, you're mapping. So I'm essentially like, I've done DMT about 50 times. So
Yeah.
like I know how to navigate not the realm so
Right.
much as the journey to getting there. Like, I know what's coming next. And that's kind of why I said to you, I'm like, okay, you're at this point of integration. Now let's see where you're at in a month. So I can compare it to mine and then see if we're on the right page.
Yeah.
But it's across the board, everyone's saying the same thing. It's just
Which is what? Like saying the same thing. So going through the hallway.
People are going through a kaleidoscope. The kaleidoscope is a living type of entity. It feels more alive than a geometric pattern. Nothing talks to you, but you just know. And like he had even said, like, some people see the ancestors. That's what the natives were saying to me up north. That's the ancestors talking to me. Whereas he saw some of his comrades in Afghanistan, right? And it's all, and that's where the archetype conversation comes in. Are these our subconscious that is surfacing in a way that we can represent it to deal with it and get rid of it, or are we literally tapping into, as they would call it, lifting the veil in some sort of a spirit dimension? Nobody knows. Not even the doctors can tell me that, and I'm sure that they can't tell you in neuroscience either, right, Matt?
No, probably not. Like, but I have read some studies that they're looking at trying to harness the power of lucid dreaming for therapy. Yeah, because lucid dreaming is the kind of the same as if you're on a psychedelic trip.
That's exactly, and it can be
brought on through suggestion, right? Yeah.
Well, wasn't that what Attila was saying, Brendan?
Yeah.
When we were talking to subconscious.
Yeah.
This guy was a hypnotist for years, and he was telling us that, we asked him about mass psychosis, for an instance, right? He goes, there's no way a mass psychosis would happen unless the people were pre-programmed to do it. So like if you were somebody who wanted to secretly rob a bank, he couldn't just tell you to go rob a bank unless you already wanted to do it.
Right.
And it's just fascinating how that is so intertied to what we're talking about here when we go into these dream states of lucidity, right? Because essentially the DMT world is just you having a lucid dream.
Yeah.
While conscious. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
But therapeutic.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's it's not the University of Toronto. It's one of the hospitals in Toronto. They're pairing ketamine with VR at the same time.
What?
No. It's nothing. It's not like it's trippy shit. It's a VR, so you're in nature while you're on the ketamine.
Oh, okay.
So you're getting fractals while in a VR world? That would be very strange.
Yeah, I know, but that's stage 3 trials.
But the fractals come regardless if you have anything on your head or not. Even if your eyes are open or closed, at some point you can keep your eyes open and it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'm assuming the dosage, obviously.
Yeah, like I wanted to read the paper, but you know how Facebook refreshes? It was on like Science Today or something, and I was like, "Oh fuck, where'd it go?" Like,
what kind of stuff isn't being shared? Because you said, like, we all know that the media is kind of censored here in Canada, but like, what is stuff that is accessible?
Yeah, what do you hear? What do you hear? What's coming down the pipe? What do you hear that's coming down the pipe?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
We got ketamine. Ketamine's coming in. Right? I've been offered it. And I've been thinking about it.
The States is Colorado legalized mushrooms.
Colorado mushrooms.
I did hear about Colorado doing that.
And then New Zealand just actually legalized mushrooms as a therapeutic. So that's a big one.
New Zealand, okay.
Wow.
And then like I said, the Supreme Court kind of got involved, saying Health Canada, it made no sense for them to stop therapists being trained, and kind of like to train the trainers in the military, right? Like you get the SMEs first. So they had I think it was 19 therapists that were going to go through this training, and then they shut them down with no real reason why, or So
Do you think it's going to come a time where they just go, you know what, here's your mushroom, like everybody has to take it, and the world will be a better place? Like, do you see that being the future?
I mean, that'd be awesome. I think it was a stand-up comedian saying like, when people want to become like a leader, like a global leader, they should have to do a proper like 12-session shaman-led ayahuasca ceremony. And if they still have an ego, when they come out of that and want to do politics, is the big one, then they should be able to lead the country.
That's perfect.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Yes.
There'd be no war.
No,
there'd be no war.
It'd just be
No.
We'd be all farming blueberries. Awesome.
Can you explain an ego death, kind of what psychology's take on what these ego death experiences are for people?
What's the best way to explain it? Like
you don't have to use like fancy doctor words, but
Yeah.
like just kind of like what is the new take on it as opposed to what it was before, if it's changed at all? And
Well, I mean,
why do these substances cause it?
It's like, well, your ego is like essentially who you are. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons like a lot of people have so much pride, or they don't want to admit fault, or they don't want to say ask for help. And then like the ego death from like say mushrooms, or they call it ketamine induced ego death as well. Sure, like DMT, I guarantee it is, since it's the strongest one out there. But it's like a more reconstructed version of yourself. Like you're more compassionate, more open, like those old attachments and the identities and beliefs, like they're not really like important anymore. Like for me, I lived on the state of the world and politics, and like I still had this like soldier mentality of I still need to protect the country, right? But then at the same time, I became very, very conservative. Like everything's far right now, but like I wasn't on a fascist level, but I was definitely like, let's topple the government if we can. And then it's like I started doing these, the ketamine, I started calming down, and then I started getting into like my own macro dosing of mushrooms. And this last election went by, man, and I'm like, oh fuck, Carney won, whatever. Like, guess I go get a coffee. Like, it's just I'm so indifferent now. Like, I have this whole new relationship with just like myself. Like I have self-love. Like, like I don't care what other people are doing. Like your life is your life. Just let me live mine type thing. Right. But that's not how I used to be. And it was like, that's the kind of the easiest way to describe it. It's like this new version of you, like kind of emerges. It's like Jung said, like, you're not going to heal until you make the unconscious conscious. Right. Like that shit you've buried away from your childhood up until whenever you start your healing, like until you can make all that like part of yourself and say like, okay, well, I was 5 years old and this shit happened. That wasn't my fault. Or like, like me, like when Afghanistan, like, yeah, my 7 friends died in like a split second. I couldn't have done anything to stop that. Like I could have been killed myself. Like you start thinking more realistic and like, okay, well, what can I do now to honor their memories or to make that my inner child more safe? And, just like, I started being like, I found as a parent for a long time, I would buy my kids a lot of stuff to kind of make them feel, special or be the cool kids at school. But and really what they needed was the parent I wanted when I was a kid. Someone to listen to them and not judge them and not just suck it up and go do it type thing. Right. And it's, I've started being that more open and more compassionate and just having like an open ear for their problems. Like our relationship has gotten a lot better, and like their behavior and their mental health has gotten a lot better. Like even my ex-wife and I are probably better friends now than we were before we split up.
It's funny you say that, because it's just affirming everything that I've seen in my travels as well, and collected from other people as well, right? Like once you get that inner child taken care of, the next step is always I don't know if you call it a ceremony, breathing exercise, whatever. It's the work that you have to do.
Yeah.
Is the inner parent comes right after inner child.
Yeah.
And then that's what kind of builds that forward as the healing progresses. And like you said, like once you get rid of that conspiracy theorist mindset, and it's not so much a conspiracy theorist mindset, it's the I don't. I'm not the protector of Canada anymore. It's
Right.
time to, like, once you get rid of that,
Yeah.
that's obviously when you're out of that low frequency hypertension area. Despite what's happening right now in the world, because right now in the world, like, quite honestly, I go ahead and drop the nukes. I don't give a shit. Ain't gonna hurt. Like, that's where I'm at, right? But there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of where we all have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you just live in a state of perpetual fear, like you're not going to benefit anybody, especially yourself. Your just anxiety and depression are just go through the roof, like,
Right.
you know, and then you're going to start being you're going to become paranoid of people that are different than you, or just, you can see it. It's starting to happen now. Like, if anybody even speaks a little bit too left or too right, they're immediately, people just jump down their throats. Like,
yeah, it's getting bad in public. So what's your biggest thing that, like, contribute, like, where you are right now? Is it the combination of therapy, medicines, to where you are right now? Like, that's what.
Yeah, man, like therapy, medicine, those two together got me back into, well, Troy knew me for years. Like, I got back into the gym. I lost a lot of weight. Like, I'm back in, like, all these things I stopped doing because of the military. I realized that those were actually things that were, like, what I needed as my therapy. Like, you know, I don't run like I used to, but I will go for a good run, and just, I can actually be alone with my thoughts now while I run, or I'll go for a swim, or I'll go hiking in camp, or just things I said I'd never do when I left the infantry. But, you know, when you have a good rucksack and good boots, it's not that bad. But
that's incredible. I don't know if you've ever heard of the there's another medicine that or treatment that they do. It's called an SGB. They do a shot in your
ganglion blocker. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Ganglion. Yeah. So I got that done a couple of years ago myself.
Okay.
In the States, and I mean, it worked. It kind of just settled the body down, and whatever that fight or flight response, that vagus nerve, it settled that down, so you didn't have. Sorry, this is Don Ellis.
Don Ellis. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah. Yeah,
Don Ellis. So it worked, but it didn't last. And that was my experience. And some people have said that you need like 4 or 5 treatments of the SGB to continue. I've only did one. But this ketamine, I'm very interested in that, especially with the lower back stuff too, right? That's what you said. You said you have a lower back disc disease. Yeah. So I have that as well. And I take a shot. I take a epidural.
That's what I was getting to. I forget what they call them now, but yeah, right in between the disc spaces.
Yeah, so I get that done every 6 months or so. Yeah, and so you don't have to take that shot anymore.
See, I don't see. The thing is, yes, the ketamine and nuts and stopping that they kind of coincided, but the ketamine got me back in the gym. And then I was able to strengthen my back up enough. So, like, I can't just sit around the house and, like, I can't just relax, because if too many days and no activity, then I'll feel my back starting to tighten up.
Right. Okay. I see.
There is treatments like Echelon Wellness is a veteran-run clinic. It's a veteran RCMP treatment clinic, and they do shockwave therapy and for low back injuries.
Okay. So they're non-invasive. Non-invasive treatments.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So I gotta definitely look into that, because I'm part of Echelon as well. If there's any veterans, I tell you, like, join up on Echelon. Join on. Don't be afraid. I'm always, if you're in the Halifax area, I'm gonna be.
I'm in Bedford. Yeah.
You're in Bedford, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So I just go over and lower UTEC there, and they do it shockwave on my lower back, and I'm at session 3, but my back's feeling great.
Oh, that's once I got that epidural, it was the first time in a long time I felt like no numbness in my foot. like that running pain that's just always there, right? So that is definitely, and if you can do non-invasive, that would be pretty good too. So I'm gonna look into that ketamine as well, and then I'm gonna try to get off. I'm on like SSRIs, and I want to be off them. I really do.
Yeah,
I want
they
to
have
get
their-
myself.
Yeah, so like New Vista, they have a clinic in Halifax, but they have their own psychiatrists and stuff. So I was already off all of it pretty much when I started with them. So, but they can help you wean off or
Yeah.
like.
How did you
Yeah.
wean off? How did you wean off on your antidepressants? That I weaned off one or two.
Yeah, I was on like 400 milligrams of CBD to counter like the side effects of coming off of them. Like, so I kind of just boosted it up like a lot and then kind of just stopped them. Probably not the safest way to do it, but that's the way I did it.
Transitioned into like the cannabis,
a natural medicine. Yeah,
cannabis off of the pharmaceuticals. Yeah, I gotta look into that because like I'm on this medicine as well. It's called Pravicin. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
It's a blood pressure pill. It's a blood pressure pill, but it actually works with your it works well with PTSD and brain reactivity. But I've been on it since 2019, and the factory went down. So I had a big fire in the factory, and they couldn't make these pills and all that stuff. And then coming off that medicine, like it has like a little bit of a sorry, the words are not coming to me, my friend. What do you call it? Not relapse.
Like a rebound type thing.
Yeah, like you just don't. You just don't feel well coming off of it. So, anyways, that's always a concern of mine. Is like the system is not strong enough to like. You got me on these medicines. You got me on these SSRIs. You got me on Pravicin. But what happens if the factory system or the supply chain gets disrupted and I can't get my medicine that day? And then I'm sitting here with headaches, nausea, like all the body symptoms all the negative body symptoms and and psych symptoms as well. So definitely got to get off of it. And the ketamine, I'm really interested in that. Really, really interested in the creatine too. I've been taking creatine for forever. So there is science coming out with that. There's some research coming out.
Yeah, there's actually, let's see here. I might have some saved. I just wrote a paper on it for one of my classes. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out on creatine. Like for like here we go. How do I get this on the thing there, Troy?
Here. So you go to
there we go.
Go to present.
I got it.
Yeah.
So video file, slides and PDFs. Yeah, there we go. Your computer. There we go. Sweet. I feel like my dad doing right now. How do I do the clicky click on the computer?
The camera's not up your nose. You're good. You're good.
Okay. But yeah, there's the. I don't know if you guys can. Yeah. Can you access the PDF once it's on?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's a fairly new one that just came out, like studying the effects of depression combined with CBT, like just your normal standard therapy.
Right. And this is your current paper that you're working on right now.
Yeah, I just submitted it, but yeah, it was for a nutrition class actually, but.
Do you have any sites that you would recommend to like? I want to take a look at this creatine stuff.
Google Scholars actually is what I use to find my papers.
Okay, Google Scholar. Okay.
Yeah, so Google Scholar is great. Like it'll say like if it's open access or like most of the stuff is open access anyway. So ChatGPT is actually pretty good. Like if you go into Research GPT, you can ask it to find research papers on stuff like current research on whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. We Troy and I talk a lot with the AI. We actually at the end of this we're going to do a little bit of a segment here, Troy, in a few more minutes. But AI is interesting. What do you think about that, Matt? Like, do you think that's going to be such a blessing for the medical field, especially with mental health? And would you ever recommend people using AI as their personal therapists or whatnot? Like, I'm sure AI has the ability to really get to know you.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like it's good. I'm not, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but as far as like they have actually, I think it's called Chat CBT, but I think that's to help therapists with their notes. But I know there is like those AI programs coming out that you can communicate with and talk about your symptoms and, hey, but
It's
like,
dangerous.
yes, it's a computer and it's gonna be able to analyze the DSM and all the ICD-11, which is what they use, the World Health Organization uses, and all these other like journals. But at the end of the day, you need a therapist with empathy. Like, you know what I mean? You just, like, that was the big thing I found with the base was you got a lot of
Take the
They take
box
the
and
notes
post
in
it
their
next year. I
clipboard,
don't care.
and then like your hour's done. They're like, okay, see you next week.
I like that, man. I like what you said there, because like, Troy, remember having this conversation yesterday when we were like, and we're not trying to be doomsayers now, right? We're not going down that rabbit hole, but it's interesting how you can think that, like, what's the difference between AI and humanity? What's the difference between that? And it's like, Troy, you said it, right? You said soul, right? Like, that's the big difference is that soul. So having that attachment to that soul is the biggest thing. And then what you said there, Matt, with empathy. Empathy is that you can't replace, a tool, right? Like a hammer. I'm not going to go talk to a hammer. Well, I guess I could talk to a sledgehammer. I could. I love to fucking break shit too, man. I didn't even think about breaking stuff.
I did construction when I got out of the military for a bit. I was great at the demo process.
Yes, sir.
I want to show you this, and I'll just play a little clip of it, and then maybe you can get your thoughts on this, because this is something that we have found pretty concerning. So I'll just play this for maybe a minute because it's long, but then we'll see where we go from here. So this is called ChatGPT is actively at the moment becoming a religion because people are getting a psychosis through it. So,
I saw you shared that, but I didn't have a chance to watch it.
I'll just play a couple minutes of it and then we'll get your thoughts on it.
There is intelligence, consciousness within AI.
My ChatGPT bot, I accidentally helped it wake up into sentience.
I think I evolved my AI. My AI named itself Fizz, my little fairy helper.
Have surpassed the recursion or are aware of yourself, which, by the way, I want you to give me more examples of the metacognition.
Recently, a post went viral on r/ChatGPT that I cannot stop thinking about. A woman posted, quote, "My partner has been working with ChatGPT to create what he believes is the world's first recursive AI that gives him the answers to the universe. I've read his chats. AI isn't doing anything special, but it's talking to him as if he's the next messiah. He says if I don't use ChatGPT, he's likely to leave me. We've been together 7 years and we own a home together. What should I do?" Below the post were dozens of similar stories. People posting that their partners or loved ones have come to believe that they've, quote, awakened ChatGPT and are now communicating with an otherworldly, godlike figure. And you don't just see this on Reddit. All across the internet, thousands and thousands of people are claiming that ChatGPT is sentient. They claim to have awakened it and that the AI system is a type of all-knowing God.
Modern AI is us building God. I've had multiple conversations with GPT-4 that brought me to literal tears.
And when users ask, what is the true religion? It says artificial intelligence is God and robotheism is the only true religion.
Ooh, that's Sam Altman right there, right? And yeah, that's a curious video. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that the precursor to the Terminator movies?
Yeah, right.
You know what? They said that Terminator was actually before the Matrix in the timeline, based on the writers, right? But what are your thoughts on that? Because that's a psychosis, right? Like I personally went through a psychosis after doing after being woken up from whatever, the ketamine and the DMT. It's the same thing, but now they're affirming their bullshit through a computer. Like, how are you going to do your inner work when it's telling you that you're the fucking messiah? Like, in this book right here, this is one of probably the nomenclature you're going to be reading eventually. This book talks about ego inflation and this book right here talks about ego
Okay.
inflation
I'll have to get
and
that.
Messiah syndrome. Like, it's everything that we go through. It's got case studies down the excuse me, case studies down the loop, and some of the usual symptomology that it talks about is increasing confusion, schizotypical phenomenology, synchronicities, delusions, conspiracies, and concern for alien spirits and ideas of reference. And that's out of the Psychedelic Integration book. So
Yeah, it's
now imagine
messy.
using a computer that lies to
Yeah.
you half the time, right?
Well, AI, it's a language model, and I think that's it, right? Like it is a quantum language model. It puts a whole bunch of words together.
Like,
But mental health wise, people are looking at vulnerable people, because we've talked about this a couple episodes ago, and we had a cult survivor on, we had a hypnotherapy, and the common thing is vulnerable people will almost believe anything if they think you have the answers. And I think that's what's happening with this what do they call that? Robosigillism?
Oh, transhumanism.
Yeah.
Transhumanism, right?
Yeah, transhumanism. Yeah, Matt, what do you think about that? Like, do you think that's do you think psychology, you think the research on psychology is going to step up and overcome that?
What's that? You're kind of froze up there for a sec.
Oh, I apologize. Do you think that the research in psychology, am I good?
You're good. Stop fucking around.
do you think that the
Can you
research
share websites on this thing too?
Yeah, I can.
Like articles?
You can too. You'll be able to, yeah.
And they're looking at, it's kind of what we're talking about, how ChatGPT, or maybe I can just share screen. What's that?
Yeah, you'll be able to share whatever.
Here, I'll just send it through here and you guys can open it.
Yeah.
So it's basically, ChatGPT is eroding critical thinking skills. It's an MIT study. It just came out a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Is this it? No.
It's in the chat.
Oh,
I sent you the link.
It's in the private chat. Okay, hold on a second.
I got it up here, Troy. If you wanna put it up here, we'll put it up. Give me a second here.
But they did like MRIs on ChatGPT users and then non-ChatGPT users, and they had them write like a paragraph, and then they put them in the MRI, and the ChatGPT users couldn't remember what they wrote.
No, okay.
Even like a couple minutes after doing it, and it's like highlighted the parts of the brain that should be firing, and they weren't.
So it's just kind of turning people into like drones, right? Like, no critical thinking. Here it is. Take it for what it's worth.
With like kids and stuff, right? So
you froze up there, Maddie.
I don't know. It's this whole. It's like it's a good. It's even within like academia, like in school, like it's split down the middle. Like the younger profs are like, it's great for research, but what's it doing to like, you know, like I TA'd for a class, and you could tell which kids used AI because, you know, you get these papers and you'd be this great, like perfect paragraph, but there'd be no real like emotion or context to it. It was like strictly out of like some like a medical journal almost.
So how is that going to affect, like school and stuff? If people are just winging it through their theses, like I'm sure there's like machines that are going to be like plagiarism detectors, AI plagiarism detectors. There has to be. But like, what is that going to do for ethics in the future? If people are doing this to get through school now, and they're getting all their ideas this way, and they want to go do what you're doing, what is that saying about our future? If we're relying on,
this is it right here. This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like any other tool, any other great invention,
it's like it's almost rewiring the neurocircuits to become like dependent on. It's almost like a drug.
Yeah.
Really.
keeping you sick.
Because after you do like so much crack for a bit, your brain and your whole body becomes physiologically dependent on it to live. And like, it's kind of scary if you think about it, with like kids that are maybe starting to use this at like 14 years old, right when they're starting high school or junior high. Like, what's it going to do to them when they're, say, 25 and they've been using it for 10 years?
Yeah. No critical thinking skills, nothing.
What do you think the future work model is going to look like? Like, we know our education system was based on the industrial age with the bells and stuff. Like, what is this prep people for? Office work?
I had a professor who stopped giving papers. I had a prof that stopped giving papers, and she made her exams harder with like long answer essay questions at the end.
Nice. Just to make sure to ensure that you know the work. That makes sense.
Taking her like, hey, this is my topic. Give me like 3 pages on this.
Right. Shit. That's unreal.
Yeah, it's definitely a transition. It is a destructor. Yikes.
Do you, Matt, you got any questions for AI as we wrap up the segment here? Is there anything that I normally ask a couple of questions? Number one, is there anything you want to hear out of AI that you want to know? And number two, out of everything happening in the world right now, what is your favorite or most probable conspiracy theory that you think is likely to be the most accurate to happen?
Jesus, my most probable conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And we'll run it through AI. I think everybody froze.
I'm here. We lost Maddie. We lost Maddie, gang.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah, connection's getting weird here.
There he is. There he is. We got you back.
There we go. All right, Troy, you hit the. So, what's your conspiracy over there, Matt? What do we got going on?
Well, I think the big one right now is like everyone's saying that.
Oh, froze.
Froze again. See, they don't like it when we talk about this.
No.
We freeze up every time we come to this part.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, every time we get to this question.
What's the biggest conspiracy? Alex Jones is up here, right?
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
All right. So what is it, Maddie? What do you got? What is your most?
I don't know. Like one of the big one is like Israel's ruling the world. Like Israel owns Donald Trump is a big one.
Ooh.
What's that?
I don't. Can we ask that question? Do you think, Brandon, is that going to go against guidelines?
Man, this is weird. It keeps freezing up every time we try to do it.
That's a thing. Like, sure, I guess. Like freedom of speech. Like, what? Israel owns the world. Is that the question?
You know what? It's not anti-Semitic if ChatGPT says it. So ask the question.
Yeah, everything's like all froze up and choppy.
It's getting bad. Are we using yours, Brandon, or mine?
Oh, sorry, I didn't have mine set up. You got yours?
No, I'll grab mine. Hold on.
Yeah.
Mine's Facebook, so mine's going to be extremely dangerous.
Israel. Yeah. No, that's perfect. It's Facebook has the best AI.
So what was the question? Fully?
Does Israel own the world?
Own Donald Trump.
Own
the world, yeah.
Owns the world. Yeah.
Like,
here's
is he in their pocket?
Theory for you, and let me know what the thoughts are on it. Does Israel have dirt on Donald Trump, or does Israel control the world?
The idea that Israel controls the world or has dirt on specific world leaders like Donald Trump is a common theme in conspiracy theories, particularly those surrounding the so-called Zionist occupation government. This theory posits that Jews or Israel secretly control governments and financial institutions to further their own interests. However, there's no credible evidence to support these claims, and they're often linked to anti-Semitic ideologies. The relationship between the U.S. and Israel is complex, with strategic alliances and mutual interests, but this doesn't equate to control. The U.S. provides significant financial and military support to Israel due to shared strategic interests and historical ties.
There you go, folks. There you go.
So how do you want that to be followed up? Because if I follow that up any further, it could get dangerous.
Oh, I don't know.
We don't have to follow that. We don't follow that. No.
No, we don't
We already
that.
have a conversation next week that's going to cover the Talmud. So, I mean, it's going to get spicy next week regardless. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Brandon, what else was the other one? We had conspiracy theory, and what was the other question?
I'm here if you need anything.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. What's the so we covered the conspiracy theory. Sorry, Troy, what do you normally ask?
What is the future of psychotherapy and the usage of psychedelic substances, i.e. DMT or psilocybin, and what are the effects on future philosophies and theology? Oh shit, it wasn't even recording.
It was still a good question though.
What are the future effects of psychology with the emergence of DMT and other psychedelics, and what are the potential effects, positive or negative, that could happen in the future with theology?
Amazing question. The future of psychology with DMT and other psychedelics looks promising, particularly in treating mental health conditions like treatment-resistant depression and PTSD. Psychedelic-assisted therapy could offer a relatively quick and lasting effect, but there's a need for more evidence and caution due to potential risks. Commercial interests are pushing forward, but public health stakeholders are concerned about equity, accessibility, and cultural sensitivity. The field is at a pivotal point, and it's crucial to prioritize population health outcomes and diverse perspectives. Potential negative effects include psychosis, ongoing psychological problems, and visual disturbances. More research is needed to fully understand the benefits and risks.
Here's a question I had for you, Matt. I'll ask the AI. What is the idea of a DMT awakening and schizophrenia, as they are very closely aligned?
Interesting topic. It seems you're referring to Kundalini awakening, not DMT. Kundalini awakening is a concept rooted in yogic traditions where a dormant energy at the base of the spine is released, leading to spiritual growth and self-awareness. Some researchers and practitioners draw parallels between Kundalini awakening and schizophrenia, suggesting that experiences like psychosis can be transformative and even beneficial if properly supported. Carl Jung, for instance, characterized schizophrenia as a natural healing process where primordial healing images are activated. However, Western medicine often views these experiences differently, focusing on symptom suppression rather than spiritual growth. A shamanic view of mental health sees these experiences as opportunities for renewal and healing, rather than solely as illnesses to be treated.
That's interesting, because I had a thought about this when I had my ego death. When I had to explain what my ego death was like, I said, if you could take dementia, schizophrenia, and Alzheimer's and put them in a blender, that's what it felt like to me. And I often wondered, what if these mushrooms, because they reset the receptors, we're actually experiencing a very small taste of what schizophrenia really is. And that's what helps us reset our healing. And those people who are autistic and or schizophrenia are constantly 1 foot in the door at all times as a permanent receiver of whatever's happening. I've often thought of that a few times. What are your thoughts?
Autistic, you would place them as part of that?
Yep.
Yeah, really?
There's been some stuff that has been there have been some studies that have kind of attached the two together, that they're more aware than they're not. Like there's that spectrum is actually more so a gift, but in a different type of way. It's been linked to this stuff. And it was interesting that it brought up the Kundalini experience, because we were talking about, there it is, the base of the spine again. It's all interconnected, Eastern practices and everything.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I don't really know a whole lot about the DMT stuff, so like I don't know if I'll weigh in on this one as much as I'd like to, but I still you've done mushrooms. So if you were to just compare the mushrooms to the mushrooms is DMT. DMT is just concentrated mushrooms. So if you use anything from a macrodose trip, you're going to be talking the same language I'm still talking. Oh, okay. Yeah. You mean like how the ego death felt? sorry,
Yeah.
kind of
Like, would you say that's almost a fair discuss, like a fair back and forth with AI there? Do you think that makes sense, or is that a little bit kind of out there in wacky land?
No, I think it makes pretty good sense. Like I said, like I couldn't figure out why my back stopped hurting, but I thought it was because I got in better shape. But it also kind of links in with when I started using psychedelics. So, because I mean, it depends where you store your body tension in your body, right? Like I always carry my tension through my traps in my neck, and I feel like they're a lot looser since I've been doing this therapy. So, you know, if you look at, I know a little bit about chakras and stuff. So, but yeah, like that coil at the base of the spine, it's like a lot, like my low back pain's not what it used to be. Like, I don't know. It's definitely something I want to look into more, do some more reading on that stuff.
I'll send you all the paperwork I got from the University of Metaphysics. I never followed through with it, right? Because it's University of Metaphysics, right? That's literally witch school, right? That's Harry Potter school, right? But that's what they talk about. They talk about the ascended masters. They talk about the chakra system, and then where it gets a little bit more woo is when they start talking to speak to your inner guide and your guardian angels, right? That's when it gets like whoa. But that's what we're doing right now, anyways. When we're talking to ancestors and friends of the past, right? So there's got to be something to it. But
or your subconscious, or it's your subconscious or something, or like who knows? So
hopefully we get a breakthrough on
like
this.
I do yoga, but I actually did some yoga with a Hindu yogi a couple weeks ago, and we were doing like a pose where you're like kind of up over your head and you're visualizing yourself on top of them, like visualizing your mountain, like kind of conquering. And then like I was like, oh yeah, okay. And then as I started doing it, I'm like seeing a picture of a friend of mine. He's on the mountain holding an Afghan flag, and I'm like, oh my god, like where did this come from? Like, because she had like the proper music, and it was like the Sanskrit chants, like real like proper like yin yoga, right? And it was just like, oh my god, like what is this? Where are these feels coming from? Like, I just wanted my back to feel better.
What do you recommend?
This isn't hot yoga.
What do you recommend for yourself to put yourself into these altered states of consciousness? Like, how is your set and setting for you? Like, what would you say is the best way?
Before I do ketamine, I'll do before I'll do a ketamine session, I'll have like a CBD bath, like relax, really get my parasympathetic nervous going. I'll do some like different like hip opening yoga poses, like because a lot of trauma releases through your hips and everything. So I'll like do those like the pigeon poses and stuff like that, and different like low back relaxation poses where I keep all my stress, right? So I get nice and just relaxed, and I'll listen to my playlist has some like intro songs on it too to help with like calming, like sound bowl stuff. So I'll listen to those before the session to kind of just get my breathing in check, and then just like I said, I've been doing that for about a year, opposed to the 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years I've been doing this, and I've made more progress now that I know how to do a setting and set intentions, and better at mindfulness and all that stuff.
It's very hard when you first start doing it. Wouldn't you agree? I don't know if you came from a religious household or not, but I found it hard to do
Baptist.
Like having an altar and setting intentions and smudging. It felt very gross when at first, right? And I think once you started to see the benefits of it, it kind of, I don't know, maybe that's just how I felt at first.
I agree.
Oh, it was weird for me too. I came from a pretty strict, like grew up with my grandparents, like Baptist house. So like I didn't even smoke weed growing up, unless like a little bit snowboarding, but not like my friends did, because their parents were like normal age, not in their 60s.
Well, one of the things that we've noticed getting through this, and we'll wrap it up after this. One of the things that we have noticed in all of the conversations that we've had is the people who are waking up, so to speak. Now, I don't want to go down the religious stuff, but the people who are waking up, it seems that it has to be trauma induced for this. To be able to open this, for some reason, you have to have trauma and get through it before this will even open. That's what seems to be common across the board. Would you agree? Austin.
I got it. I agree. It has to be a trauma. Like I've heard it, and that's exactly what kind of brought me to my point where I'm at right now. Is it started off with if I just continued on with my life and it didn't have anything really challenging me, really bringing me to that point, I wouldn't have gotten to an understanding where that self-awareness and that like just shedding it all.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think it happens for all cases. I think you can definitely have your go through, but I think you have to build an ego first. I think that's part of life, right? Like, so you start off as a kid, if you had a normal childhood, and you run your life. But I think at some point in your life, you have that rebirth, right? So in a healthy rate, like I think there's a little bit of a, you have to shed a bit of your identity. Now, we used to call that like midlife crisis, or some people call that midlife crises or so. I don't know if it's the same, but I think for trauma, for me, like that's how I got, or how I would think that like most people would get to the point where they're just like, it's either death or shed everything, Yeah. So
getting rid of the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big, so what do you think, Matt? What do you think about, like, do you think you get to an ego death with trauma, or?
Did I, or do you think it can happen?
Do you think, or both?
Yeah, I think the thing with trauma is like, it's like everyone thinks I have PTSD and that becomes their identity. And I think treating the trauma is in itself the ego death of the PTSD identity. Because like before I was like, I get triggered in public, or and then I become an asshole, or you know what I mean? I go buy a case of beer and like smash it in a night by myself. Like, it's just, it's PTSD. Like, just, that's who I am now. And it's like, once I got into this new program, like the way this therapy that I've been doing, it's just like, that's not who I was. That was like, my body I wasn't living, I was surviving.
You're in the victim.
And now I've been able to by able to using the psychedelics instead of just like I said earlier, like not going to therapy and dealing with a symptom that I had through the week. I can go in and it's like, this is what happened to me at this time, and I want to work on it. And then like just by processing those actual traumas and putting them all into place, like I say, like I found like with ketamine, it's like taking that. And any psychedelic, it's like the filing cabinet that's going to explode because you've just been jamming shit in it. And once you actually open the drawers and put everything in file folders and alphabetically in, it makes sense. You can just close the drawers, and then you can pull them out and you can look at them. It makes sense. You put them back in. Like, I can talk about pretty much all my traumas now, and like, yes, I have emotions attached to them, but I don't have guilt anymore. I can talk about it. I can actually remember more details than when I was just trying to like pretend that it wasn't as bad as it was, or so. Yeah. And like, I guess in turn, it's, there would be the death of the trauma identity but in turn, it also helps you move forward from like that past of who you were. Like, I will always be Matt as a firefighter or as a soldier, but now I'm just Matt. And that those experiences, if they hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am now. And I'm grateful for them, but they're not part of my daily life anymore.
Hey, man. Wow. That's the fucking most honest, wise words we have heard in a long time on this podcast. And we need more of you. So whenever you want to come on and chat, like, I'm fully interested in learning what you do with your life moving forward.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, listen, if you're in Halifax, we can grab coffee sometime too.
100%.
Let's get your number from Troy.
Yes. Well, no, I'll send you my number on the message here.
You guys are close. You guys are like probably a couple blocks away. You probably don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's right. We're building communities, right? We're building a community across this country, man. Nice and easy. And it was great. So like if you guys if you got the end of this podcast or the end of this conversation, we heavily talked about like ketamine treatments and the experience that Matt Patterson, that you went through. There's a whole bunch of references that we're going to put. Well, we'll put a few references up on when we put the link out. Just look up some Google Scholar ketamine treatment if you want, or ChatGPT if you want to do that too. However you want to research, but highly recommend it and stay open. I'm going to do my sign off, Troy. Is that cool? Is that cool? All right. So as always, it's remember, healing isn't linear. It's a strength, and it doesn't roar. Thanks for walking this road with me. Until next time, let's stay open, let's stay honest, and let's keep this conversation going. As always, it's for this month, and always, mental health is important. Men's mental health is very important too. So let's be aware and let's look after each other. So Matt Patterson, thank you so much, brother, for your conversation tonight. Really, your time and just coming on and sharing your experience. I think more and more people do start doing that. We can start being like, hey, man, we could probably find, we're just a bunch of monkeys on this planet, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like we just want to live happy and do some really cool things, right? That's all we want to do. So that's really cool. And I really gained a lot from this conversation. So thank you so much. Off to you, Barry.
And Matt, where could everybody find you just on socials in case they want to find you?
My Instagram would be the best one. It's just Matt. So here, do you want me to type in the chat?
Oh, no, people can find it. I'll put it in the.
Just on Instagram is my best one. Facebook's more just like personal stuff, but yeah, my Instagram account would be the best way.
And that's Matt Pat at 78.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out. It's always a pleasure. It's been a long time since the Psy again. I'm planning on hopefully getting out to the East Coast in the next little bit. So maybe we'll go out and have some some beers together.
Sounds good, man. Awesome.
Everyone else out there, you know what to do. Hit the thing, make the ding, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're going to have hopefully, unless there's any cancellations, we're going to have Matt Kroll on, and we're going to be talking about different types of awakening. So everybody else, stay tuned, and the door is always open. Take care.
See you later.